wishing a very happy Bhai Dooj to all my dearest brother. And sorry for later wishing because I was busy in this day. May God bless you with prosperity, health, wealth and happiness throughout your life. Come back. In my earlier video, I had discussed about mean value theorem of one dimension. Today I will discuss mean value theorem of higher dimension. And for higher dimension, we all of us know all points here vector. So, to find the mean value theorem of vectors, at first we have to knowledge about the inner product. The notion of inner product of two vectors, actually this is the generalization of the idea of the multiplication in higher dimension. That means in higher dimension, multiplication of two vector means inner product. Okay? Here the idea is given two vector, here the vector notation in Rn, then inner product or dot product of x and y. This is denoted as, this is the notion of inner product. Every inner product defined as this notion, and this is defined as inner product of x with y, which is equal to x1 y1 plus up to xn yn. This is the notion of inner product. That means when we will multiply two vector, then the formula of these two vector is this. Okay? And which has the following property. First property is inner product x with x always would be greater than equal to 0. Just think, what is the idea of inner product of x with s? This is just by definition of inner product, this is equal to x1 square plus up to xn square. And we all of us know this value always would be greater than equal to 0. And when equal to 0, if and only each x is 0. That means if sum of all number is equal to 0, then obviously every term, every x, because here x and y is both x, would be 0. Are you getting? Okay. And the next property is commutative property. Inner product x with y always equal to inner product y with x. This is the second property, and this is the commutative property. And third property is very easiest property. This is inner product alpha x with y is same as, since here alpha is just a scalar, this would be just omitted alpha from this multiplication. This is similar to alpha with inner product xy, and this is also similar to inner product x with alpha y, where for all alpha belongs to real line. Okay, just check this rule. And the fourth condition is inner product x plus y with z is similar to inner product x with z plus inner product y with z. That means here addition over multiplication is same as multiply x with the vector z and multiply y with the vector z, then add them. Okay, this is same. And this is the properties of inner product. For differentiability in higher dimension, we will use this idea of inner product. So I have defined what is the idea of inner product. We will see norm of a function, because to find the mean value theorem, the notion of norm is very important. I will discuss the topic of norm in my vector algebra, but today I will discuss only the just basic part. Just think, norm is a mapping from vector to scalar. If I have vector and if we want to map it as a scalar, then we have to apply norm. Are you getting how look like the norm? Okay. And this is the notation of norm. Actually, norm is the inner product of itself. Just as for example, if we are belong to in plane mean R2, then the vector uv equal to inner product of this vector u with v would be, we all of us know by definition of inner product, this would be u1 v1 plus u2 v2. Now, if we apply norm, that means norm of v, then I have told you this is the inner product with same vector. That means by applying this would be square root of v1 square plus v2 square. Okay? Actually, norm is a notion of length of a vector. And since norm is a mapping from vector to scalar, it has a following property. Consider f be a mapping from Rn to R, fx equal to 0 if and only if the vector x equal to 0. Here, the vector x belongs to Rn and this is only 0 because this is belongs to the scalar R. And second condition, it satisfies the triangle inequality, that means f of x plus y always would be less than equal to f of x plus f of y. And f of alpha times x always equal to alpha times f of x, where alpha belongs to R and for all x belongs to Rn. This is actually the property of norm, which I will discuss elaborately in my vector algebra topics. Just see this topic, because for mean value theorem we have to use this method of norm. In vector valued function, to find the limit we will use norm, because norm is here the vector and norm is just function from Rn to R. And to understand all plot clearly, just recall the gradient vector. We all of us know the partial derivative. The partial derivative tells us the rate of change of the function on its domain. This is actually the partial derivative, the slope of in only direction x and y. And for any direction, we have to find the idea of directional derivative. And this is the key idea of the direction derivative. For direction derivative, we need to find the del operator, which I had defined in my earlier video. Just recall, the del operator, which is denoted as this notation, okay, is used to define the gradient, which is defined as partial derivative with respect to x. Here I have considered it R3, and this is the notation del x, del y, del j. I have defined this in my earlier video elaborately. Just recall, this object is not really vector. The del operator applied to a function on a vector field. Okay? And when del is applied to a scalar valued function f, then we attain the gradient. Have you understood? What is the idea of the gradient? Gradient actually apply on a scalar valued function f. Okay? And the gradient vector is the vector containing the partial derivative of the function. Here f is the scalar valued function is called the gradient. When I will consider as two dimension, then the gradient in two dimension is, let f is differentiable at the point x and y, then the gradient at this ordered pair is the vector valued function, which is denoted as del f at the point xy equal to partial derivative with respect to x at the point xy, comma partial derivative with respect to y at the point xy, and which is actually denoted as partial derivative with respect to x at the point xy with I component plus partial derivative with respect to y at the point xy with j component. This is the definition of the gradient in the vector, that means in the 2D plane. Gradient of 3 dimension is actually the extension of R2. Similarly, we can apply higher dimension, and this is the key idea of the gradient. So, gradient is a vector component of which denote the partial derivative in each direction. Just this is the, we all of us know this is the del operator with respect to x, and in the component x1, x2 up to xn, which is denoted as del f del x1 up to del f del xn. Okay, this is the actual gradient vector, and it can use to calculate the directional derivative along with the direction v. We all of us know this is the notation of directional derivative, and this part is gradient of f, and here since I have considered the direction v, so this is the direction v. Now I will see new term, Jacobian matrix. Jacobian matrix, this is nice concept, is matrix, but Jacobian matrix is equivalent to gradient vector for, notice here the vector valued function, for the function f from Rm to Rm, which is denoted as Jij equal to del f del xi over del xj. Here xi be the ith component, and this Jij is the Jacobian matrix, which is denoted as J, which is actually the m cross n matrix. Let capital A be the subset of Rn, and the vector A is the interior of A. Then the function f from A to Rm be a vector valued function which is differentiable at the point A. Then the total derivative d of f equal to f prime A, which is equal to dj fi A, and which is actually m cross n matrix. That means if you go through the first row, then the first row would be d1 f1a, d2 f1a up to dn fma. Similarly, if you go through the second row, then the second row would be d1 f2a, d2 f2a up to dn fma. And similarly, the mth row would be d1 fma, d2 f2a up to dm fma. And this matrix is called the Jacobian matrix of the vector field at the point A. Are you getting the Jacobian matrix? This is. And I had seen in my earlier video derivative of a vector valued function. Just recall again, for idea of the mean value theorem, this part is very important. So just a review again. Derivative for vector valued function is, consider a function capital F who is defined from Rn to Rm, which is denoted as this, where for all x be the member of Rn, and here the component f1, f2, fm, and it is the vector valued from Rn to Rm. If we write this capital A as a gradient of capital A, then this would be function from Rn to Rm. In general, this vector valued function whose component itself be a function from Rn to R. Okay? And here capital F takes some point x in Rn and maps in some elements in Rn. Okay? And these elements will be changed when we will change this x. Therefore, these m components depend on this x. Okay? And if we can consider the gradient of some function small a, this is nothing but this is actually del f del x1 del f del x2 up to del f del xn. Okay? So, gradient actually itself be a vector valued function from Rn to Rm. F from Rn to Rm is differentiable at x belongs to Rn if all the components function fi where I be the 1 up to m are differentiable at x. So when all components are differentiable, then the function, vector valued function be differentiable. Now let's look what is the derivative for vector valued function, because here I have seen the function is differentiable. That means obviously derivative exists. Just think, how does the derivative look like for vector valued function? Because I have defined this in my earlier video. Obviously, derivative of f as a collection of small fi in the single place, since here each fi is differentiable where I be the member of 1 to m, then we will get this relation in vector for vector valued function fi x plus a is equal to fi x plus inner product gradient of fx with ace. Are you getting this meaning of inner product? Why I have defined here inner product? First thing with one dimension, because in one dimension derivative f prime x equal to, we all of us know f of x plus s minus f of x over s. Because but here the higher dimension, so I have used for higher dimension inner product. Just this is very important. Just think. And for higher dimension, I have seen in my earlier video, there exists a error. Which is, so this is also plus order of norm of ace. Okay? Where order of norm of ace is the error term. Here I have used norm because norm is used as a length of a vector. And here order of norm of ace is given by order of norm of ace1 up to order of norm of acn. Okay? For ith function, using capital F in both sides, then this would be f of, if we use capital F, then this would be f of x plus s, which is equal to fx, and this value is similar to Jacobian of fx. Are you getting why Jacobian of fx? Here the Jacobian of fx denoted the matrix of order m cross n, whose ith row is the vector gradient of f I x, who is written as row vector. Okay, and this is called actually the Jacobian matrix, whose row vector defined as gradient of f1x up to gradient of fmx. This is the definition of Jacobian matrix. Ith column would be del fi del x1 up to del fi del xn. So this is the m cross n matrix. If we take it right hand side, then this equation would be capital F of x plus s minus capital F of x minus Jacobian of fx with small s equal to order of norm s. If we divide both sides by norm of s and apply limit norm of s tends to 0, then here I have divide norm of s because here the function is vector valued function. In first dimension I have divide it by only small s, but here I have belongs to in the vector valued function, so I have divided norm of s. So also I have taken, since here the vector valued function, so here I have taken limit norm of s tends to 0. Okay, since this is the error part, order of norm of s, if we divide this error part with norm of s and if we take limit as norm of s tends to 0, then this value would be so small. So this limit always would be 0. So we can tell for this would be equal to 0. Where? Here not only 0, here 0 means this is the 0 vector in Rn. The function capital F, who is defined from Rn to Rn, is differentiable at x if there exists the m cross n Jacobian matrix such that limit norm s tends to 0, f of x plus s minus f of x minus Jacobian of fx with s divided by norm of s would be 0 vector, where this 0 vector belongs to, here the indication is vector, belongs to Rn. Okay. As for example, consider f be a function from R2 to R2, which is vector field and defined by f of xy equal to e to the power x cos y comma e to the power x sin y. For all xy belongs to R2, since each component f1 and f2 are differentiable, so we can tell easily f is differentiable at each point of R2. Okay? Since f is the vector field f is differentiable at each point of R2, therefore Jacobian matrix dfxy of the vector field f at any point xy belongs to R2 exists, and which is given by this matrix. This is the 2 cross 2 matrix whose first row is del x f1 del y f1, and second row is del 2 del x f2 del y f2. Here f1 is denoted by e to the power x cos y and f2 is denoted by e to the power x sin y. Then the value of the Jacobian matrix is this. Just calculate. And in particular, if we find the value at the point origin, then this would be just identity matrix. Okay? Well, let's come back our original topic, mean value theorem. At first, let's recall the mean value theorem in one variable. Consider f be a function from open interval ab to R, which is differentiable on open interval AB, then consider 2 arbitrary point x1, x2 in the open interval AB. Then by mean value theorem, we can tell easily f of x2 minus f of x1 over x2 minus x1 equal to f prime xi, where for some xi belongs to x1, x2, and that imply f of x2 minus f of x1 equal to x2 minus x1 times f prime xi. Now, consider a function f from u to Rn, where u is the subset of Rn, and consider 2 points x and y belongs to u. Okay? Here consider x and y be any arbitrary point. Then, since we are belong to in vector field, the points between x and y are from tx plus 1 minus ty, where t belongs to open interval 0, 1. When t equal to 0, then this value would be y, and when t equal to 1, then this value would be x. Okay? And all the points look like between xy is tx plus 1 minus ty. 4. Mean value theorem in functional several variable, we expect it should be fy minus f of x equal to d of fj times y minus x, where z equal to t naught x plus 1 minus t naught y for some t naught belongs to open interval 0, 1. But this is not true. As for example, now consider f be a function from real line to R2 such that f of t equal to cos t sin t, where t belongs to real line. Then, given t1 and t2 belongs to real line, and there exists t naught belongs to t1, open interval t1, t2, such that f of t2 minus f of t1 equal to, by this definition of functional several variable, f prime t naught times t2 minus t1, where f prime t naught is the 2 cross 1 vector. And consider here just particular point t1 equal to 0 and t2 equal to 2 pi. And by putting this value t2 equal to 2 pi in ft2 and t1 equal to 0 in ft1, then this would be 0, 0, and f prime t naught would be minus cos t naught sin t naught, and t2 minus t1 equal to just 2 pi, and here this t naught belongs to open interval 0, 2 pi. Since we are now belong to in plane, so take norm both sides. Then this value would be, by the result of norm, this is 0 and this value would be 1. So that means this implies 0 equal to 2 pi. But this is cannot possible. So, are you getting why this statement broken in functional several variable? This is not true, because when we are belong to in higher dimension, then always there exists a direction, and when we will fix our direction, then this will be applied. Then the mean value theorem of vector field would be, let A be subset of Rn be open set, and the vector field A from A to Rn be differentiable at every point of the set capital A. Let xy be the member of capital A be such that the line segment LXY joining the point XY is also in A. Then, for all A belongs to Rn, there exists AZ belongs to LXY such that inner product A with f of y minus f of x equal to inner product A with f prime z y minus x. Here inner product has used to find the direction of the vector. Okay, you will understand this part when I will discuss inner product elaborately. For direction, here have used the inner product. Okay, then I will stop here and I will discuss this topic in my later video. Okay, see you soon. Stay safe and stay positive always.